Hello my friends, Takuya here, and welcome back to another Hearts of Iron 4 video. No my friends, we're not going to be doing alternate history, we're going to be doing something fun. Wait, no, hold on, don't click away from- listen, guys. I'm not saying that the alternate history is not fun, not anything like that, no. But quite literally when I did my last alternate history What If Russia Had Stayed a Monarchy video, the top liked comment in here, the most requested thing was that I specifically make a video which I do something where I have fun. So thank you, Aladron13. Let's go ahead and have fun and completely break this game. Now my friends, the thing that I want to show off here today is easily one of my favorite nations, or I should say favorite nations, one of my favorite paths in the game. In the previous fun video that I did, I showed off how my favorite nation in the game is Mexico, which is something that I've made multiple videos on here before, but in second place among all of these nations is again not a major power, but another minor one that is so stupidly broken that they actually had to nerf it, and yet still it is broken, and with the latest update, it now has the potential to be even more broken. Switzerland. For anyone who has the By Blood Alone DLC, which actually gave Switzerland a focus tree, there are many different things that Switzerland can do which are ludicrously broken, and when I say that, that is if you go either non-aligned or democratic. Switzerland doesn't really have a communist tree in the first place, and then simultaneously its fascist tree sucks. It's just, the fascist tree is genuinely one of the worst trees in this entire game. And it is for that reason that Switzerland is not my favorite nation, it is Mexico, but the other two trees on aggressive democracy and simultaneously non-aligned are so incredibly fun and stupid that they cannot help but make me smile. And I'm about to show you how these overpowered trees got even more overpowered. Also, my friends, I'm sorry to interject this right now, but I have to say this. My Turkey trip just launched, like, literally at the time that I'm making this ad, like an hour and a half ago, and I'm gonna make a fancier ad. Of course, I am going to do that, but we've already had 3 bookings in the span of an hour and a half, so this trip is going fast. With everything that I talk about on this channel, if you want to actually have a chance to go and live some of the sites, if you want to go to some of the ancient sites of Turkey with me, flying a hot air balloon over Cappadocia, seeing the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque, and going to so many ancient temples and sites, then my friends, you have to join us. The trip is literally a year away at this point, and when you go and book the trip, you only have to pay 25% down, and the first 8 people that sign up get a $200 discount. Past that point, you can do a payment plan, so, you know, you have a year to be able to take care of things. But this is going to be a 9-day trip with 2 plane flights inside the country that are already included in it, so there is so much that we are going to be doing here. Anyway, enjoy the show. I'm going to be making a much fancier ad here later, but by God, time is running out. So buckle up, my friends, and get ready for a show. Switzerland, 1936. From the very beginning of the game, Switzerland has a somewhat decent economy with a very interesting political system with the Federal Assembly. As time goes on, I'm going to need to kind of explain this, and this would make a very interesting stuff here for alt history in the future, because their system is, well, honestly, it's a fascinating one, and it's one of the key things that actually binds us in this whole endeavor we're about to undertake. The military recruitment system overall is based off Swiss citizen militias, at least in the beginning, which gives us a ludicrously big recruitable population, but simultaneously has very limited aspects on how it is that we can not modernize, but actually control our military and what goes into it. So while this looks kind of amazing, but also shitty at first, we're not really going to be messing around with this here too much. Switzerland also starts with a semi-decent economy with how small it is, and that actually quickly grows much larger in this game. Like, we will, early on in the game, become one of the largest economies in the game, magically, almost overnight. It's crazy. But either way, on that note, first thing we're going to do is build ourselves up some infrastructure here in the mountains to get some more aluminum going, and then after that, we're going to focus on primarily building up here our civilian factories. That's one of the crucial things that we're going to need. Military factory-wise, we don't have anything in the way of iron, so we will have to import that eventually, but right now, we don't need to worry about that. Throw that onto guns, because we will need a larger supply, and then after that, get our research going. For those of you who have not seen the videos that I did when I did the By Blood Alone DLC when that first released, this is going to be a very similar path, arguably almost the same thing that I did then, but it is even more broken now. If you don't know what it is that I'm talking about, oh dear God, you will see. Focus tree-wise from the beginning, Switzerland has a quite extensive focus tree. The big thing about it is that even as large as it is, you are specifically limited by the political system that Switzerland has. We're going to start here with Swiss guiding principles, which is going to unlock a balance of power system that has to very carefully be maintained, and I cannot stress that hard enough. It has to be carefully maintained, or else you will not be able to do anything that you actually want to do as Switzerland, which is both frustrating and also simultaneously very rewarding when you actually get it to work. The Swiss Confederation stands as the oldest democracy in the continent, but the precipitous pace of change in Europe is putting this at risk. Should we continue this course laid by the Jonas, blah, 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 and the Constitution of 1848, or will a new path reveal itself to us? Take our army composed of basically nothing but mountaineers, put that into a group, and then simultaneously after that, we will just start recruiting as many militia here as we can get. And with that, my friends, we begin. Now, I'm not going to spoil everything here immediately from the get-go for what it is that we're going to be doing, but to kind of spoil it, Switzerland has the potential, depending upon the path that you go down, of being able to take over ludicrous amounts of territory from the nations around it for basically free, and then simultaneously from that get absolutely insane bonuses. Swiss guiding principles. This is going to give us 3 different options. We must protect our democratic and neutral values, which now that's going to keep everything basically the same. Perhaps we should be more active about protecting our democracy, which is going to just reduce the daily balance of power, or neutrality is untenable under these circumstances. Yes, this is the one that we are going to do because we are going to need to rapidly move down our tree. Go ahead and get that, reduce the presence of democracy, because we're going to need to increase other aspects here, which on that note, when I have political power, this is the balance of power system that manages things between the cantons or the federal council. Essentially, whether the power is decentralized or highly centralized. And we need to do 2 things. 1, we really need to move towards the federal council as fast as possible, but simultaneously, once we reach a certain threshold, we need to stop and try to maintain a balance so that we can get more of the bonuses that we desire before we shoot down the centralization path. Which, on that note, council diplomatic effort, make people like us, because if our opinion or people's opinion of us fall below a certain value, we will get attacked, and I don't want that. After that, go ahead and get National Defense Fund, which is going to decrease consumer goods and give me civilian factories, all lovely. And elections for the president of the Swiss Confederation. This is the fascinating thing about the Swiss system. You actually start with 3 advisors from the get-go, all of which push democracy. Switzerland has arguably the most powerful advisors in the game, or some of them, because they all offer insane bonuses, but each have their own kind of issue or limitation. Like, you can't just freely get rid of these advisors, right? You have to be able to replace them every so often, unless you spend ludicrous amounts of political power to be able to get rid of them. So what we're going to do here in this case is we are going to look and see for what is the guy that provides the highest amount of, there we go, daily democracy support, which is the Albert Meyer person. And even though he offers that really nice 10% civilian factory construction, which I love, simultaneously the big issue with him is that he provides the highest amount of democracy, and we don't want democracy in this case, so we are going to put Albert Meyer in charge as president, and then as soon as he is gone, we are going to replace him with one of the many different advisors that we can get. And on that note, I normally love getting the weapons designer, which gives you a 10% research bonus that is actually nerfed because when this DLC first released, that was a 20% bonus. Oh my god, that was strong. I loved it. But he only provides plus 0.3 unaligned. And since we're going to be doing unaligned for this playthrough, that means that we are going to be going down and needing a higher tier. Militaristic nationalist. This guy provides plus 0.05. So yeah, plus war support. That is nice. We go ahead and get that. That boosts up our war support. And then as soon as we're at 150, that means we can then go over here and go to partial mobilization immediately. Now we just simply have to wait. And every single time we hit this council diplomatic effort, it's going to increase the cost of it by 10 political power and also the time that it takes by 10 days. So there's only really a limited amount that we're going to be able to hit this where it's going to be cost effective. Nazi Party representative in Switzerland assassinated. Ah, yeah, this is the whole case in here, which I remember correctly. There's something you can do to get like a spy out of this, but I don't really remember how it works. So I'm just going to give the guy a fair trial. It's not really going to matter. It's going to piss off the Germans, but yeah, that's what happens. With the 40 political power, we do the council diplomatic effort. And right now, this is the last one that we are going to hit for a while. I think we're not going to hit the one that's at 50 days in order for me to be able to time this correctly, I believe. All right, after electronic mechanical engineering, normally in this case, you'd want to get like, oh, mechanical computing, but there's actually a key thing that we're going to need to get here from the beginning, and I need to make sure that I get it in the first place. We are going to want to have Field Hospital 1 researched, but in order to get this, we need to have trucks, which means it's important that we start researching trucks now so that we can completely secure it. Since there's, of course, a constant risk of being attacked, we are naturally going to go with dispersed industry because that's going to be crucial for us, as we don't want Switzerland to be at risk of any kind of bombers in the future, which theoretically that is actually going to happen. To reaffirm spiritual defense. Our confederation has been committed to the defense of Swiss national values since 1932 in response to the growing threat of authoritarianism around it. Now more than ever, the menace looms large, so we must renew our pledge to defend our way of life physically and spiritually. This is going to increase civilian factory construction even further, which means, damn, you know, if you actually stay for for that initial path here, forget plus 25%. If you keep Albert Meyer as your, whole thing from the beginning, that means plus 40% to your civilian factory construction. And if you can beeline down the balance of power so that you can get to partial mobilization without needing to get the militaristic nationalist, that still means you are talking about a scenario where you will be able to have plus 40% civilian factory construction speed on partial mob. That is amazing. You see what I'm talking about with bonuses and how nice Switzerland is? It's so much fun. If you were playing a game actually as just like Road to 56, where you have the Discardian mod, where it has all the investments and additional thing that you can do from other countries, you could actually completely break a multiplayer game by just having a Swiss bank, where you invest your civilian factories into Switzerland, and then the Swiss player turns around and reinvests by rapidly building up infrastructure and everything else because of how many bonuses they get in factions. Now we go ahead and get artillery, since for whatever reason the Swiss have not figured that out by this. I don't know why that is the case, but you know what, we're gonna need to start it anyway. After reaffirm spiritual defense, the next step after that is that we have to then choose to fortify a border with someone of some kind. So, after reaffirming spiritual defense, the next step after this is to fortify one of the borders. Depending upon which one you choose here, whether it is Italy, Germany, or France, this will determine the political path of if you are going to go against the Nazis or if you're going to go with the Nazis here. Though technically speaking, you can technically do both and play all sides against each other and not actually side with anyone. This is true. But in our case, what we're going to do is we're going to fortify the border against Germany, and this is probably going to be the big threat that we're going to be having to deal with later. The reason being is because we are going to end up moving down the ban foreign Nazi propaganda side, and from there we're going to be moving on to very interesting spicy things. I love this path so much. And there we have it, fortification of our border with Germany. It is here that a crucial decision has to be made. Because it is that we went with the militaristic nationalist, and that means we have a higher increased amount of unaligned that is generating every single day, we are rapidly losing all support for the Federal Assembly, which means that in order to be able to do further focuses on this tree, namely Allied Gold, which is something you want to typically rush as soon as possible, the next step after this is that we're going to need to ban foreign Nazi propaganda and then get Allied Gold. After which, we will then have to beeline our way back over here to armed neutrality, and then get our Field Marshal Henry Guisan so that we can finally start to get some army experience generating. But you have to balance all these and do these in very specific orders, because if you don't, then none of your stuff will actually make sense, or you will actually be blocked out because you either won't have the necessary democracy support, or simultaneously, you could run into an issue where you don't have enough support on the Canton side. It's a really messy system that you have to balance that is hard and kind of annoying, but also rewarding. There's ban foreign Nazi propaganda, which will help us reduce fascism in the country, and then after that, immediately Allied Gold. We have to do this while we still have more than 65% support for the Federal Assembly. And if we go back over here, you can see that we're already at 69, meaning that if we continue down doing any other focuses, by the time we get a chance to do Allied Gold, we won't be able to do this. But either way, with the completion of Allied Gold, that means that we can go over here to our decisions, and we get the very powerful option then of being able to open up our banks to democratic nations, which actually I forgot. I have not been maintaining my relations here with Okay, I need to improve relations with them, and then simultaneously, I also really need to probably try to appease them rapidly here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. Otherwise, if I don't, they will actually declare war on me. Along with that, we can keep on increasing the trade, and every single time that we do this, this increases, or rather decreases our consumer goods. It increases construction speed, increases research speed, and reduces our, penalties that we get from lack of resources. It is just incredibly powerful. And you can do this 3 times. After we get armed neutrality, this means that the immediate step after that is that we can finally get our Field Marshal, Henry Guisan. Our political system allows for a single general and commander-in-chief only in times of extreme need, when our confederation is at risk. This is certainly one of those situations, and the man for the job is obvious, Henry Guisan. He's not only the most qualified for the job, but also enjoys widespread popularity across the Swiss Confederation. Plus 0.4 daily army experience and division defense plus 15. This guy is a Chad. In the meantime, at this point, we have currently reached the center of balance of power, and this means that we're going to have to be able to monitor this as close as we possibly can as time goes on. Now, with the fact that we have our Field Marshal in here, the thing that we're going to need to do in order to be able to make sure that we beeline down this as fast as possible, and we need our territory, we need our construction, we need everything that we're going to want to do in order to break the system, this means that I'm going to have to start rapidly pursuing down Gotherbund and other here as quick as possible. The time for bickering and factionalism is over. It is time for Switzerland to unite under a single democracy, with the categorical authority to make sweeping measures, all in the name of the survival of our Swiss traditions and values. We will resist and prevail. Yes, indeed. In doing so, immediately after this, we are going to need to make a beeline down to the Federal Council here as fast as we possibly can. So to that end, that means council diplomatic effort and also strengthening military high command. We need to increase this strength as much as possible in order to be able to rapidly build up, because if we don't, we will not be able to get things done fast enough in order for France and Italy to give us everything that we want. After Gothenburg, can I press for Vorarlberg? No, I cannot. Not yet. I will have to wait for like 5 days in here, which, yeah, this is going to throw off my timing here a little bit, but it's fine. Not 5 days, 15 days, but it's whatever. The important thing is that I do this as fast as possible. So once Strengthen Military High Command is available again, we go ahead and select that. And immediately afterwards, I can now press for Vorarlberg. We're going to go ahead and get that one done. Yes, my friends, with the annexing of Austria, this does a couple things. One, it is going to severely limit German expansion. They're not going to get any of the military civilian factories down here. They're not going to get the Austrian gold. It all around is a much better situation to limit Germany's expansion and power. They will also have less manpower because they don't get any of the cores here of Austria, which is huge. Along with that, the boost to my own economy is great, and the immediate step after that we have to launch is Switzerland on the offensive, because this is going to remove the whole thing for the Swiss citizen militias, which is something that is shitty in the first place. And after that, we then have the options of demanding territory from the Italians as well as the French. Yes, very, very fun stuff indeed. Absolutely super fun stuff. The whole way that the system even works in the first place is that it is entirely based off your opinion, how early you do it, and simultaneously how big your armed forces are, which is why you need the Austrians in the first place. And immediately after you annex the Austrians, you have to do this Switzerland on the offensive thing to remove the Swiss citizen militias. Because we will go over here to demand the French Alps, because of course it's just a matter of time until France crumbles under internal and external pressures. Duh, because it's France. They're always going to tear themselves apart. And what it is that we're going to do is we're going to take the entirety of the armed forces, all of our different varying militia forces, the shitty infantry and everything else. And what we are going to do is we're going to find the best infantry division that the Austrians had, which is not all that amazing in the first place, but it is something. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add a thing of Swiss artillery to that. And this is going to be the basic division that we work with. This, my friends, is going to be the chocolate division because it's beautiful. We're then going to go over here. We're going to take our entire army and every single unit we are going to convert to the chocolate division, but not quite yet. If we want to absolutely guarantee that we get this territory, we're going to go over here. We're going to start recruiting a whole bunch of just citizen militias, just as many as we can possibly get. Yep, right until we don't have enough infantry equipment to get all this going. Perfect. As we move to demand the French Alps, what we are also going to do is we're going to go over here and we're going to improve relations. We're going to take all these divisions that we had here, the Swiss militia. We are going to spawn them out. Awesome. And after adding them to our stupidly big army with all 67 divisions, we're just going to go ahead and change this division over here to our chocolate division, which means that we're going to be adding like an additional 377,000 manpower into our army. Doesn't matter if we can't equip it. The units are going to have so much manpower that our army size is going to be ludicrously big. And every time I play this, as long as you do this early enough, France and Italy, when you go and actually try and take them out, they will accept your demands. So from this, 1937, France has accepted our demands. Thank you, France, for giving me all of this territory. That means I can then take the rest of this army and we're gonna slap it over here as soon as it is that we can prepare for our fun with Italy. Because after that, immediately, the next step is to go and demand the Italian Alps. Thank you. And with that, my friends, we then have the final election for the president of the Swiss Confederation, or at least the one that is going to remove the democracy side here. Giuseppe Motta, remove you, and go over here, go down, and make sure to get our final non-aligned guy, Christian Gasser, nationalist industrialist. Thank you. And Italy accepts our demands. Honestly, here's the thing. The later you wait in this, the more likely it is that they reject the claims. So you have to do this as fast as possible. But as long as you can do this by like the very beginning of 1938, you are set. And that, my friends, is absolutely amazing. What we're then going to do is we're going to just take some of the weakest divisions that we have in here, and we're going to remove them. And by that, I mean we're just going to consolidate until it is that we can actually... And since we don't need all this now here anymore, but we need the equipment, we're going to go ahead and delete like 14 of these divisions to create a nice... Actually, no, what? I got 53? Nope, never mind. We're going to delete a little bit more. There we go. 5 more. That's a clean 48. Beautiful. But with that, my friends, we have a stupidly powerful Switzerland that has neutered basically every major power, or evil major power here. Well, France. Evil major power here from the very beginning. Now, The problem is, because of what we did and how we had to actually speed through things, we couldn't do what it is that I specifically wanted, which is to go over here, do Bueroha, and actually do Prohelvidia and get Spirit of St. Bernard. This is the really broken thing that is actually the thing that we really, really want, but we will be able to make our way over there before it is that we end up doing anything else. Because after all, this whole thing with the Alpine Protectorate, I can't even do this right now because, well, I don't have less than 50% support for the Federal Assembly. I also don't have the right leader in charge that I actually need for these efforts. So, in the meantime, what that means that I am going to actually have to do is we're going to need to go down the development side here on our military. Planes warfare, develop our tanks, develop supply lines. This is the stuff that we have to do from the beginning, and then afterwards, we actually probably won't be able to do any focuses for a while and try to build up as much political power as we can. So yeah, first off, planes warfare. Let's go ahead and get research for mechanized model, among other things. Next step, we have 100 political power, so there's the key thing that we're going to need to do now. We are going to immediately declare the Alpine Confederation, because this is going to give us cores on all this territory that we've taken, which is wonderful. And then afterwards, let's see, multi-purpose tanks or rolling fortress. No, we want rolling fortress so we can research things even faster. Let's do this. Our tanks can only be a part of our current defense doctrine, so they're in advanced position of the fortresses that defend our mountains. If the enemy can't pass through our fortified front lines, they will never be able to reach our cantons. Yes. Our industry from 1938, in going and taking all this stuff as core, we took the richest, most developed parts of Italy, some of the best parts of France, and an entire state here with Austria. We jumped up to 76 factories, which makes us one of the largest economies in the world at this point. With Rolling Fortress, the next step after that would be to extend supply lines, which increases our supply range by 12%, supply hub construction speed by 25%, and railway construction by 25%. This is insanely powerful, and it's basically the last focus that we're going to be doing here for a while, because after this, we really need to store up our political power. But before it is that we make any of those decisions, since it is that we have over 100 political power now, the big thing that we need to do is renounce our guiding principles. The reason being is because we have to switch so that we're not constantly going to be decreasing our power balance towards, 100% on the federal side. After that, we go and protect Liechtenstein for the extra civvy and military factory, and besides that, we literally don't do anything from here on out. This is it. There's nothing. No movement. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We can't do a national focus. We can't do anything for a while. We just try to recruit units and try to build up our army as big as possible. With the amount of core manpower that we're going to have here at this time, it is truly insane. We will be able to build a ludicrously big force. But before that, we finally have elections for the president of the Swiss Confederation, which will allow us to finish this part of the focus tree that we really need. We will go ahead and elect Adolf Hitler, put him in charge, which is going to allow us to get an additional research slot. And yeah, I got to spend all my political power here in order to be able to then do anything else. And not only can we then expand our arms industry, but simultaneously launch the Alpine Protectorate, which will completely remove elections. Yes. Lovely stuff. And yes, we get the most amazing flag to ever be seen with the Alpine Protectorate. Thank you, Adolf, for being amazing. That sounds so wrong to say historic. No, ignore what I previously just said. The big thing that we now need is just lots and lots and lots of political power. Yes, heading into 1939, now July in this case, Germany is launching even earlier strikes against Poland and then also simultaneously getting ready to move west. Germany's not going to be as strong in this time. They won't have as many military factories or anything, but by launching strikes earlier, well, this is a thing that actually in the game at least is stronger for them. So it's not the worst thing that it could be, you know? As war breaks out all around us, there's a couple key things that we need to do at this point. We have a massive military industry, and in order to fuel things, we're going to start developing heavy tanks. For whatever reason, the Swiss get bonuses to heavy tanks, so that's exactly what it is that we're going to be utilizing. It is here by the beginning of 1940 as, well, France is currently being killed, which actually, believe it or not, France is holding up better against Germany than it normally would. Because Germany, in this case, is actually not having any of the military factories to be able to build up more resources from Austria. This means that they had to expand and fight earlier, which means that the French are actually able to stand against them more. This is amazing news for us and will only better things as time goes on. Because really the only thing at this point that we're going to actually need here over the next couple of years is to build up a solid little armor industry here, like the cheesemaker, which is going to prove to be very fun as time goes on. Wow, it is September of 1940. Germany has still not broken through France. I did remember doing this last year, and it didn't have this kind of effect. I don't remember Germany being this weakened by everything. Well, this actually probably changes my plans by quite a bit, actually. Oh my god, the Germans are actually being driven back around Calais. This is descending into World War I, and even the Italians are even going out over here. Well, this, my friends, ends up actually being truly hilarious, because I was anticipating that I would have to wait for significantly longer, but it seems that no, I can actually launch these plans down here before I ever actually try to bring back anything else. I can try to bring democracy to Germany, or I can go to liberate Italy. In doing this, I'm pretty sure all powers have pretty much exhausted themselves, so after a year of fighting, I can just do whatever it is that I want. Yeah, at this point, Hungary, Italy, everything else would have exhausted themselves down in Yugoslavia. There is literally no one here on the border, and the Germans have still somehow not taken out France. Which means it's Swiss freedom time, baby. We go ahead and declare war on everyone, which in turn means that I can now join in and attack on all sides. And I actually, I can't go down to, I literally can't go to extensive conscription because they have I have so many men in the field. We have 1.3 million men in the field. Yeah, that's not going to pan out well for me. I probably should not have recruited that many divisions. Quick, bring democracy back to Germany and let's get claims on everything. There is literally no stopping us at this point. It is just a rapid sweep through everything. The Germans are desperately going to try to move troops onto the border here in order to be able to protect against things, but we are already outside the gates of Rome itself. In the span of like a month, Benito Mussolini is immediately deposed, and the Italian Civil War breaks out. Okay, now I can go to extensive conscription. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and get that done. Oh my god, do they genuinely think that after, like, throwing themselves at this line that they're actually going to be able to break through? They have no units, and they are fighting with the Allies over on this side. What do they think they're doing? We took out the Italians in less than a month. And just like that now, we can go and take out the Germans. Okay, you know, I'm not even trying here at this point, but I am rapidly losing manpower, so I do probably need to stop here and slow down for a bit. And there we go. There's their entire force trapped over here in the west. And that's basically all German divisions trapped down here, which means that I can in turn focus over on this side. And with all their forces completely eviscerated, from there we just march right into Germany itself. Berlin, here I come, which is actually very ironic because I leave for Berlin in like literally 3 hours. God damn it, how have you not fallen yet? What even is your capital? Oh, it's over here in Eschen. Okay, never mind. That's probably why I'm missing that. And with that, my friends, we have the fall of Germany with actually Alpine Protectorate, because we let France actually survive. They fought so much, then they ended up actually surviving. But you know what? I have claims on basically everything over here, which means I, as Switzerland, can ensure that every party will be safe and guaranteed under my leadership and protectorship. How do I know this? Because basically Germany and Italy will cease to exist. And that's the gist of that. Ironically enough, if I had waited for a while longer and continued to build up my military forces and actually applied and actually gotten significantly more tanks within the factories, eventually the Soviet Union possibly would have went and declared war upon Germany as well, which would allow me to take them out even faster. And then from there, maybe even then go and... Oh, wait, did the Finnish just launched their own continuation? Buddy, you are on your own. In fact, the Soviet Union is at war with the Republic, which is... Are you even a puppet? No, they're not even a puppet. They just got democracy toppled. What the hell? Guys, I think we broke the game, but don't worry. Switzerland will make sure that everything is safe from here on out. The really funny part about all this, since we have all this political power saved up, if I wanted to right now, is I could go and do Guisant's coup, right? I could have this and then return to the old Switzerland by going democratic again. After going democratic and adding back Swiss militias and everything else, if I wanted to, I could then eventually make my way down here to the Bureau Ha side, and then from there, Pro Helvetia and Spirit of St. Bernard. You know, technically speaking, at this point, I'm wondering, theoretically, if I had skipped increased defense budget from the very beginning, would I actually have been able to go down here and get Spirit of St. Bernard before it is that I went and actually took out everything else? If I had done so, that means that I would have been able to retain so much more of my manpower. So, in the end, this idea that I had is that it's not as broken as it possibly could be, because the longer you wait, and I ran this in a couple of my tests, right? Italy and France will refuse. They won't give in and actually give you the territory that you request for the Alpine Protectorate and everything. So you have to do it in like 1937. But to do it in 1937, you need very specific things to happen, and that means avoiding and missing out a lot of those bonuses. So maybe it's not as powerful as what I thought it was from the beginning, which is disappointing. But still, it is extremely powerful, and technically speaking, if I had done this and then decided, hey, screw it, I'm just going to wage a war against Italy in order to take that territory myself, I could have technically done it after getting everything else and then waged a death war over that time period. I could have. Maybe we'll test that out in a future playthrough. Tell you what, like this video, and if this video gets 8,000 likes, I will go and run a test on that, and we will see just how possibly broken we can make this, to the point that we could potentially try a Switzerland world conquest and just see how far we can go. Either way, with that, my friends, I will go ahead and end things here today. Thank you all very much for watching. I will see you all here next time. I gotta leave for the airport. Goodbye, my friends.